Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're conducting a systematic autopsy of exactly why HTTP/1.0 connection management fundamentally breaks down at scale. For those of you engineering backend systems or optimizing network transport, understanding the exact mechanics of this architectural bottleneck is absolutely critical. We aren't just talking about things being slow here. We're talking about profound inefficiencies at the transport layer that strictly dictate how modern protocols are designed.
We're going to deconstruct this bottleneck layer by layer. 1. The non-persistent connection flaw. 2. Server-side resource drain. 3. The congestion window penalty. 4. Compounding latency and the math behind it. And finally, 5. The protocol evolution.
All right, part 1, the non-persistent connection flaw. To really grasp the root of this architectural flaw, we have to look at the payload of the modern web. A modern web page doesn't just request a single simple text document anymore. It demands anywhere from 100 to 300 concurrent HTTP requests just to load everything. HTML, CSS, JavaScript bundles, fonts, high-res images. That is our baseline reality today. So, the multi-million-dollar engineering question here is, why exactly does HTTP/1.0 completely buckle under this modern load? Well, it essentially comes down to a massively outdated assumption. The protocol was built in an era where fetching one single file was the norm, and, well, its connection model absolutely proves it. In HTTP/1.0's non-persistent model, every single request forces this highly serialized, honestly highly wasteful four-step lifecycle totally from scratch. First, you have to do the DNS lookup, then execute the three-way TCP handshake. Then, finally, you actually send the HTTP request and get the response, and then you have to execute the TCP teardown. Creating and closing these connections over and over for 300 different assets, it just squanders crucial CPU cycles and network bandwidth strictly on transport overhead, rather than, transferring actual application data. Which leads us to part 2, server-side resource drain. It's not just the network that takes a beating here. The backend host takes a massive hit. For every single incoming request, the server's OS is continuously forced to allocate kernel resources before your application logic can even think about executing. We're talking about socket allocation, setting up connection tracking, allocating memory buffers, initializing congestion windows. Repeatedly spinning up these structures for such short-lived connections just crushes overall throughput and literally starves the server of compute. And the resulting memory bloat? It is severe. Based on performance evaluations, an active HTTP/1.0 connection demands roughly 378 kilobytes of memory. Now compare that to a mostly idle, persistent HTTP/1.1 connection sitting at just 81 kilobytes. When your main memory fills up with these heavy, short-lived connections, the server is forced to page to disk. Subsequent requests miss the memory cache, heavy disk I/O takes over, and throughput absolutely craters. But wait, the resource drain doesn't actually end when the file transfer finishes. It gets worse when the connection closes. That's because the socket enters the dreaded time-wait state. TCP actually requires the endpoint that closes the connection, which is usually the server in HTTP/1.0, to keep the connection's control block active. It just freezes those resources, often for up to 240 seconds, just to catch any delayed network packets. Put that into perspective for a second. Consider a busy server fielding hundreds of requests per client. It's going to leave resources allocated for every single connection closed in the past 4 minutes. On high-traffic systems, having thousands of connections stuck in time wait introduces massive memory overhead and spikes demultiplexing time for active connections, basically pushing the server right toward congestive collapse. Okay, let's move on to part 3, the congestion window penalty. So the bottleneck at the OS level builds into this massive penalty at the network layer. To prevent a sender from just blasting a network link and causing packet loss, TCP uses a congestion window, or CWND. It forces every new connection to start with a very small initial window, historically just 4 segments, so about 4 kilobytes of data. That window only grows iteratively as acknowledgements come back. This is what we call the slow start phase. And here is the great irony. By closing the connection after every single request, HTTP/1.0 perpetually resets this slow start phase. TCP's built-in safety mechanisms actively work against us here. The protocol never gets the chance to reuse capacity discovery or network state from previous connections. You're constantly dropping back down to that tiny 4 kilobyte bottleneck, actively robbing the connection of utilizing the network's full available bandwidth. Because HTTP/1.0 treats every request as an isolated, short-lived event, the connection is torn down before it ever escapes this slow start penalty. You see, a TCP connection adapts to its load and becomes highly efficient only when it's sustained and warm. But HTTP/1.0 relies entirely on cold connections, making the effect of TCP slow start truly devastating to performance.
Moving on to part 4, compounding latency and math.
This is the culmination of our autopsy, bringing all these kernel inefficiencies and network penalties together into some pretty harsh math. We don't just say HTTP/1.0 is slow, we can prove it mechanically. A single HTTP/1.0 transaction easily costs 110 milliseconds. 60 milliseconds of that is strictly the TCP handshake. Another chunk is server processing. Only a tiny fraction of this time is actually spent transferring the data itself.
So, when you multiply that single 110 millisecond penalty by the 100 requests needed for a basic modern DOM, you get 11,000 milliseconds. That is 11 seconds of pure architectural latency. This isn't a delay caused by poor bandwidth. No, it's cumulative delay, caused purely by the protocol's strict insistence on establishing and tearing down connections over and over again.
Which brings us to part 5, the protocol evolution. This mathematical failure at scale is exactly what drove the engineering of the modern web. The hard architectural limit of HTTP/1.0 literally forced the industry to adopt HTTP/1.1 and its implementation of persistent connections. By allowing multiple requests to reuse a single TCP connection, we completely bypass that repeated handshake latency and keep the TCP channels warm, allowing data to transfer at the true speed of the network.
So the core takeaway from this explainer is that network protocols absolutely must adapt to their payload. HTTP/1.0 was a brilliant, simple protocol for the early 1990s, when fetching a single text document was the goal. But as web applications grew to require hundreds of assets, that one-to-one connection model became a massive liability that the web outgrew decades ago. Which leaves us with a fascinating final thought. We solved the connection setup penalty with HTTP/1.1. We solved head-of-line blocking with HTTP/2 multiplexing, and now we're entirely replacing TCP with UDP-based QUIC in HTTP/3. So if HTTP/1.0's bottleneck was the TCP handshake and connection teardown, what hidden microscopic inefficiencies at the transport layer are we still trying to escape today? Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. Keep engineering and keep asking those hard architectural questions.